And welcome to today's video. Today I'm off to Cambridge, which is my nearest biggish sort of city. It's a fair drive, it's about 50 minutes away, and the aim of today is to get some photographs for my website, for my print sales website. We are on third week of February, still in lockdown. I'm going to Cambridge because I'm a professional photographer. I feel it's my job, and obviously I can't work from home, so that's where we're going today. I've been to Cambridge a fair number of times. I mean, I've lived around here for 10 years, and I've probably done 5 or 6 weddings there. I've done 2 or 3 engagement shoots, and I've been to restaurants here and so on, but I can't say that I know it very well. So it's going to be a case of parking up and walking around and just seeing what I can find. I'm going to be using my D700 mainly, but we'll talk about that a bit later. Meanwhile, I've got a bit of a drive to do, so let's get started. So we made it to Cambridge. So let me explain briefly why I'm here. I want to get some more photos for my print website. Obviously at the moment I'm still doing no weddings, families or anything else because we're still in lockdown, so it's a chance to come out and do some photography. When I come out to do shots for myself stroke my print sales website, there's 2 ways I approach this sort of shot. One is like my winter tree video. I don't know if you saw that I did a couple of weeks ago, where I'd been waiting for well over a year to get the shot of this tree in the snow with a white, completely white sky behind it. I knew exactly what I was going to do. It was just a matter of waiting, having patience, going along, taking the shot. Days like today is the other way of doing things, which is to just turn up somewhere, have a wander, walk around and be ready to see a photograph. And that's in many ways much more difficult, because to see a photograph in the whole scene that's in front of you at any one moment is it's an art and a skill and a talent that I'm still working on, and it comes by practice, because I think part of the art of photography is not just to take a snapshot of what's in front of you, but to identify within that scene in front of you something which is going to make a good photograph, which then brings me on to what is a good photograph. I've been looking at the work of Saul Leiter recently, along with several others, but his in particular, and trying to identify what it is that I like about his photography, and also what it is I like about my own photography. I can look at 100 photos I've taken and probably 2 will stand out as being photos that I really like. I just instantly see them. Yeah, I love that. That's one that I'm going to do some work on, edit and perfect and get it on my website to sell it as a print. But it's only about 1 or 2 out of 100. So what is it about the other 98 or 99 that I don't like? Why do I even bother taking those photographs if I'm not going to like them? And I wish I had the answer, but I don't. So it's something which and I don't think probably anyone else can actually explain what makes a good photograph, because it's going to be different for every single person. Sometimes I love black and white, sometimes I love really vivid colour. It is undefinable. So it's just a matter of wandering around and developing an eye that allows you to see something which is going to make a good photo, or has the potential to make a good photograph. So that's what I'm going to do today. I might stop here and there and do a bit more video, but I think probably more likely is I'll meet you back in Lightroom at home, and we'll go through some of the shots and I'll talk through them then. Gear wise, D700 with I've got all my lenses here. I've got 5 lenses, I think. Mainly I'm going to use the 85 because, as I say, I want to not photograph the whole scene. I want to pick a part of that scene which I think will make a good photograph, and I think maybe the 85 is the best one to do that. If I wanted the whole scene, then obviously I'd be using a 17 to 35 zoom or something like that. So that I've got my D780 as well in case there's any sort of clever shots that I want, but or where I really want to use live view. I don't think there's anything like that I shall come across, but anyway, we'll see. So I'm off for a wander for a couple of hours. I might be talking to you later. I will definitely be talking to you when I get back home in Lightroom. Cheers to for now. So back to the car. Been best part of 2 hours. I don't know how many shots I've got, 60, 70 shots probably, and we'll get back home and hopefully there'll be maybe a couple that are actually usable. Fingers crossed. Not the best day for photography, I have to say. It's been really windy, very dull, no shadows, no highlights, but well, there you go. We'll see what we can get. Well, hello, here we are, the next day, and my visit to Cambridge got me 88 photos, and what can I say? It wasn't that productive, I don't think. The weather was extremely dull. It was completely overcast. So we got no shadows or bright sunshine to give us lots of contrast. Which, as I kind of mentioned previously, I don't see this as street photography. And why isn't this going back to the way I processed it? Anyway, street photography, I don't know, it just kind of to me, street photography is something that someone in their 20s does with a mobile phone. It just it doesn't attract me. So I like to call these sort of visits to towns and cities urban photography. And to give you a brief overview, as I say, 86 shots, 88 shots. I was out for about a couple of hours. I have to say, just thinking back, I really don't recall any scene that I saw in that 2 hours that I was really excited to get back home and see in Lightroom here. All of the shots were kind of, yeah, maybe that'll be okay. There was nothing more exciting than that. So a little bit of a disappointment, but I still think there's maybe 2 or 3 that I could use for print sales, which is the whole object of the exercise. So let me just run through them. I don't want to bore you by going through all 86, but I'll just pick out a few. For the very first shot, bicycle leaning against railings. For those of you who know Cambridge or have seen it on TV or anything, Cambridge is absolutely full of bicycles. It's a bit like Amsterdam, I think. Bicycles everywhere, and now lots and lots of electric bicycles just parked up. You can pop your credit card in and take the things for a ride and that kind of stuff. So quite an interesting sort of city actually, with obviously very interesting old architecture. I mean, Cambridge dates back to what, 1300 I think, but it's not architecture that I'm actually out to photograph. As I say, it was urban, so something interesting, something that my criteria is something that's going to look good hanging on someone's wall. That's what I want to photograph. And of course people buy prints for all sorts of different reasons, maybe for their lounge, for the office, for their home gym, who knows, for the kitchen. So a variety of shots is what I was out to get. So we've got the bicycle. Don't think that's going to make the cut. I then saw, and I was standing around, just jump back one, I was standing around this area here, and I saw all these pillars. The sun was, as I say, the sun never actually came out proper at any point, but it was just looked like it was getting to a thinner sort of section of cloud. So I was fingers crossed, hoping we would get some shadows. And I moved inside, and actually we did get some shadows. And at that moment, who appeared at the end? A postman. So I've edited this, and I might, none of these are actually finished, these are just the first edit, but I might increase the shadows on each of these pillars just to make it a little bit more dramatic, and that might make a half decent shot. That's the kind of thing I'm looking for. So it's not it's not actually about people. I mean, you can't even see this guy's face, but he's obviously a postman, combined with a particular setting. So I like that one. That's okay. Then walking past some shops, there were some very interesting shop fronts. I was just staring at this barber's shop. I liked the reflections, and this guy just started to walk past, and I took a shot, which was good because somehow his red top has, I don't know what it's done. It's kind of interfered with the print on the window here, and it's quite interesting as well. Nice reflection, so maybe that will get used. Another one there that's not quite so interesting, I don't think. This one may get used because I could see on my website there may be some commercial use for a shot like this. I may not put it on the website. That might go onto the stock photos that I do. The shop was closed. I forget what shop it was now. And they'd actually hung a bicycle, fixed it in the window here. Again, that with this crazy sort of mural at the side there, that might make an interesting shot. So again, a bit more work to be done on that one. This one I did like. This was a shop with shutters, aluminium or steel shutters down over the front, but you could just peek through the shutters and see the door here. So does that make an interesting shot? Is that something people would buy? I'm not sure, but anyway, it's a potential candidate. We'll have to wait and see. Now there's this shot here. This, let me just show you the before and after. So the before, the proper shot is that. It was just a shot in very ordinary daylight, but I did spot these, and I was standing there thinking, I wish I was here about 4 hours later and it was getting dark, because presumably they'd be turned on, and I'm sure that would make a really super photo. So what I've tried to do, and what I would do a lot more work on, is to turn this into a photo at night with these lights on. As I say, more work to do on that, but again, I think that's a potential candidate. One of the things I like doing, and I first did a shot like this back in, I think it's probably Galveston in Texas. Wandering around, taking some shots in Galveston many years ago now, and there was an alleyway like this, again full of old bins at the back of shops and stuff like that. And I took a shot of that, and also out there in Galveston there's about 1 million electricity wires and cables above the shops, and it did just make a good shot. This one I like, and I've slightly cropped it, which doesn't show up, but it's slightly cropped because when I've edited it now to be able to see the reflection of the bins and the alleyway in this window here. Again, bit more work. That might make a shot for the website. We then got some bicycle shots, which bicycles and rows of bikes sums up Cambridge, but I'm not sure that that's what I'm after. So telephone boxes, yes, and 2 of them actually had phones in. Again, I'm not sure that I can use that, but it might be interesting. I'm not sure. With all of these edits, I edit them and I come back 2 or 3 days later and I'll play around with some of them a bit more, and maybe a week later, if I've sort of selected maybe 10 that I'm going to do some more work on, maybe I'll eventually end up with, I think as I said right at the beginning of this video, that I might end up with 1 or 2 that I'll actually look to put on the sales website. Then on to the architecture of Cambridge, the before shot, and purposely underexposed, and I always If I've got sky, I will always err on the side of underexposed, and once it's properly exposed, the sky is not blown out. We've got a nice lot of detail in the sky, just lifted all the shadows. Again, we've got some nice leading lines here and maybe, but it's not leading your eye down to anything down here in particular. It's a bit of a mishmash. Don't think that's going to work. Similar thing here, a couple of people sitting there, but not of any sort of interest particularly. I did see some shops. Which one should we choose? Let's go for this one. Some shops with some nice colours in and reflecting the architecture. Maybe, possibly, that'll be a shot that I shall use. And similarly with this one, maybe crop that. One of my favourite crops is 4x3, and I think 4x3 will get us. Yep, that's fine. That's just roll nubby. I just wanted to get rid of that distracting bit over in that corner. Again, more work to do, but in the right ballpark. But as I say, not outstanding by any means. People moving, cyclists. I photographed. One of the ones on my website is what do I call it? Mum in a hurry or something. It's mum pushing a pushchair, laden down with shopping, going past the shops. She's only walking, but I've managed to get the background really blurred, a speed blur, and she's pretty well in focus. I got the speed blur okay, but I didn't get him in focus. Now at a 1/6 of a second, he's moving. So even with image stabilization, which I had back on the Sony, which I haven't got on the D780, that shot would still not have come out, I don't think. And we'll talk about shots like this in a moment, because I've got one that I can show you that I hope has worked out. So if you push the speed up to get the Cyclist sharper, what you end up doing is freezing the background, and you just don't get that effect. What you really need to do is what I've done a little bit further on with the bus. We'll talk about that in a second. So I tried several shots with Cyclists. None of it worked, because to get the background blurred, and in fact this isn't really even blurred enough, that's just out of focus and camera shake. It's almost not giving the speed blur that this one is. I mean, and even this is only just starting to. So that wasn't a particularly successful experiment. So we skipped that, and a beautiful jar of roses in a shop window where the shop was closed. I like that. I like the reflections off the glass. I'm just not quite sure about this highlight reflection here. I might have to try and go into Photoshop and do something with that. I'm not sure if I like that or not. I'll have to come back to that. But I like all the reflections here. I like the dark corner over here. Yep. That one could well make it into the collection. Then some pictures of trees, which I won't even talk about because they're so boring. What I then did, let's talk about getting the shot that I was after. So I actually wanted, and this isn't the finished shot, I will probably go out again and perfect this shot and get it to be a bit better. But as a starting point, excuse me, a lovely brightly coloured bus, and again I wanted the bus nice and sharp in focus with a blurred background. Again, you've got the problem that to get the background blurred you need to be at sort of a 1/15 of a second, a 1/10, quarter of a second, something really quite slow, unless you're photographing a Formula 1 car doing 200 miles an hour, in which case, you know, a 200th of a second is plenty. But in this case, where the bus is doing maybe 20 miles an hour, you do need a fairly slow shutter to get the blurred background effect, and keeping the bus in focus at that low shutter speed is always going to be a problem. So I split it into two. So I got a shot of the bus. What I then did was, standing in the same place with the same focal length, dropped it to a 1/13 of a second and just panned across and got a shot of the background. So I've now got the blurred background and I've got the bus. What we now do is to go into Photoshop and put the two together to create a shot like this. Again, not finished, and I might have to do the whole thing again. There's a few bits I'm not completely happy with. Possibly works, but as I say, I might have to go back and redo that with a bit more purpose. So this would become one of those shots where I go out with intention, knowing exactly what I'm going to do, like I did with the winter tree, and just get the shot, knowing exactly what I want to end up with. A couple of other bus shots which didn't work out. Then a shot of a bridge, which, yeah, it's a bridge, isn't it? Nice sky actually. Quite a sort of angry, dark, moody looking sky. I quite like the way I've edited that at the moment with the colours. That could make it a shot of some houses with a nice frame around the outside. I've got a lot more work to do on that to get that to be a bit more interesting, but that's possibly got some potential. And finally, as I was almost back to the car, a bench with some flowers on. I'm not sure what that was all about, but again, possibly we'll make a shot and possibly not. So that was my few hours out in Cambridge. And if you've been watching this and thinking, well, I don't like any of those photos, I only like one or the other, or maybe there was one there that you liked and the rest you didn't like, then that's not a problem, because I'm with you. I don't like most of those photos. As I say, there's probably only one or two that are going to make it to anything other than sitting in Lightroom for the rest of their life. And that's the nature of photography, isn't it? That's what I was saying right at the beginning. What makes a good photo? And it's very, very difficult to have, unless you've got intention and you go out to get a particular shot, which, as I say, I might do with this shot, and then you can come back with exactly what you want. If you just go out to get photographs of whatever happens to be in front of you, then it does really become difficult. And as I say, the hit rate, success rate, 1 in 100 would be pretty good. Oh, and just a final word about the quality of photos between the D700 and the D780. I took probably a few more shots with the D700 than I did with the D780, but if we go through all the ones I've labelled red, so the ones that I might be doing some more work on, you can see, so we've got D700 I think up to there. I think that's still yep, still D700. So almost all of the shots that I've picked as ones that I like, I think that's where I went to the D780, yeah. So we've got 19 out of 23 are D700 shots. Now, I would probably have still liked maybe that shot. If I'd have shot that with a D780, I would probably still have liked it. But there's just something about these shots that I really do love. A depth, I don't know. But anyway, I still love my D700, and I hope you can see why. It produces fantastic, beautiful photographs, even if they're not to your liking. Be back in a week or two with another video. Thanks very much for watching.